As a candidate, I promised we would pass a massive tax cut for the everyday working American families who are the backbone and the heartbeat of our country. We want to give you, the American people, a giant tax cut for Christmas.
Sounds good. Are we on the threshold of just that? Ivanka Trump has been actually getting her hands dirty through this entire process, talking to lawmakers about the deal and making sure it comes out. Ivanka Trump, welcome back to the couch.
Thank you. I love being here.
Is this about you? Do you feel as though you're across the finish line?
So in business, until it's done, it's not done, but we feel very, very confident. So the momentum is there. We're very excited. When the vote is done, we'll be done. But we're going to deliver historic tax reforms, and it's going to happen before Christmas. It's going to be the fulfillment of an enormous campaign promise, and something that's just tremendously important for the American people. We feel it. This is something the people of this country want. They want simplification. They want a tax code that they can understand. Right. They want lower corporate taxes and understand the benefit if the companies they work for can invest in their workforces, invest in new equipment, and ultimately lead to wage growth. And I think what we've done on the individual side by doubling the standard deduction, by doubling the child tax credit and increasing refundability to $2,000 a child, by creating a dependent care tax credit for those for those many Americans who take care of adult dependents who aren't children, who are above the age of 18, but who are still dependent on them.
There are so many people this benefits. You would think that there would be some Democrats who would say, you know what, I'm for tax cuts for the middle class. I'm for helping small businesses. Why aren't there any Democrats?
One would think that, and there are a lot of Democrats, and they're all across this country. So the voters...
But what about the ones in the Senate?
Well, you know, we've had a lot of very productive conversations with Democrats who I believe are intellectually there, their hearts are there, but the party is not there and the leadership's not there.
Leadership's not letting
And that is unfortunate, but I'm hopeful with this really enormous and historic win for the American people. We come into 2018 with such tremendous momentum that we galvanize support and cohesion, not only within the party, because I think one of the amazing things is how the party has come together, worked together to accomplish what they know the American people want.
Ivanka, we keep hearing Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. We had some guests on this morning. They keep saying it's going to hurt the middle class. But when you look at the tax brackets, everyone's numbers go down. Where are they getting that? Is that just a soundbite, a narrative that they want you to believe, or is it actually true?
Well, keep in mind that the vast majority of Congress in advance of Democrats signed a letter in advance of knowing what was in the tax bill saying that they wouldn't be for tax reform. So, you know,
before they read it.
Before they read it, and before any of the details, even the principles, had been released. So I think we are in a very partisan climate in that regard, but the core principles of tax reform, the president and all of Congress has been very, very articulate of since day one. The president said that he wanted to deliver middle-income tax relief, targeted middle-income tax relief. And he also wanted to cut corporate rates to enable our businesses to be competitive and to thrive in a global economy. And this bill does exactly those things.
I mean, Reagan went from 50 to 28. That was substantial. You go down 2, and they're saying it's tax cuts for the rich. But possibly the thing that's going to be the most outstanding about this, and it's permanent, is the corporate tax rate. So it goes from 35 to 21. Now, if these CEOs and these corporations decide to invest in their own dividends and buy their own stock, that will not make it an effective corporate tax cut. It'll make all those naysayers say, I told you so. Have you reached out to any of these CEOs and said, what do you plan on doing with the tax break? And, you know, even though you can't make them do anything, do you let them know that, or what is on at stake if they don't?
100%. And we've been working very, very closely with the whole business community. Business is large and small. So from day one, their voices have been represented at the table. If you think about it, small businesses will have the lowest taxes since 1931. So think about how that gives them the latitude to be able to invest in growth. You know, when you look at the developed world, the reality is that over the decades that have passed since the last major comprehensive tax reform under Reagan, the rest of the world realized that cutting taxes enabled them to be competitive, and their rates dropped dramatically below ours. So this puts us on par or below. It's going to enable us to be competitive, and then it's going to enable these big companies and small companies to grow.
Sure.
And when you grow, you create jobs, you create wage growth, and we're seeing that. And that combined with the administration's aggressive deregulatory actions is really fueling tremendous
The
growth.
1-2 punch.
Yeah.
You just mentioned President Reagan. He had a principle, peace through strength. And coming up this afternoon on Fox News Channel, your dad is going to be appearing, I think, in the Ronald Reagan building in Washington, D.C., to unveil his national security strategy. How is this different than President Obama's national security strategy?
Well, it's based on the principles of America First. It's the principles that he's campaigned on and that he's governed based on since inception. I think what's remarkable is no president has rolled out, it's highly unusual for a president to roll out a comprehensive national security strategy within the first year. So this is yet another amazing milestone for this presidency and this administration. And I don't want to share with you too much about the content of the speech.
Stuff we heard during the campaign.
But you know, nothing will surprise you. He's been unbelievably consistent, and we're starting to see it really bear fruit in the war against ISIS and extremism around the globe, and in terms of our strength and our foundational relationship with those that we are competing with from an economic perspective, if not a security perspective. So you'll hear him articulate that, but it's been an unbelievable, really robust interagency strategy, and it's going to be articulated by the president, which is also unusual.
Yeah.
Normally, the president himself does not share the principles of the national security strategy, but this is so important to him and so significant and so consistent with the views he's long held and which the American people voted on, that he wanted to share it with the American people himself.
And it'll be on Fox.
I know you're going to hit the road today. You're going to Connecticut with the CEO, female CEO of IBM. What are y'all doing?
Well, Ginny's been amazing, and she's been so engaged with the administration for a long period of time, and she shares my deep passion for workforce development and the expansion of apprenticeships. So back in June, the president did an executive order to expand apprenticeships in America so that students would have the opportunity to learn while they earn. And Ginny has done a great job teaming up with local high schools, with community colleges, and with IBM to create a curriculum that will enable these students to graduate not only with a high school degree, but with an associate's degree and a job.
Wow.
And that's key. For us, this does tie into the broader picture of economic growth and tax reform. We want to create opportunities for all Americans. Some Americans going to college is not the right or the best alternative for them. So ensuring that we have growth in this country and that we align the skills being taught in the classroom with the jobs that are available in the market and in the modern economy. And they've done some great work on this front.
Getting a job.
Yeah, it's a huge focus of ours.
And get rid of the stigma of people not working. We're working with your hands is a much needed skill in this country. Mike Rowe, John Ratzenberger talked about it. Real quick, before we go,
we have 6 million unfilled jobs, in large part due to the skills gap that exists, that people aren't used to creating things or building things anymore. And we really want to change that. So we're investing deeply in vocational education, technical education, and apprenticeship.
We need welders. We need plumbers.
We do.
Roofers.
And especially as we move into 2018 and focus on infrastructure and rebuilding our roads and our bridges and all of the great assets of this country. So as part of that, we're also going to be investing deeply in our workforce, which is the best in the world.
I know you have to run, but there's you had assignment. Talk with Senator Susan Collins, make sure she was in the fray, and Senator Bob Corker, two big assignments. Bob Corker and now the president have healed their rift. What role did you play with that?
Well, I think I met with Congress, both sides of the aisle, as I mentioned, in the early days, hoping that there would be an opportunity for bipartisan support, given the popularity of tax reform just generally. But I was very involved in the process of meeting with legislators generally, talking to them, hearing their concerns, addressing those concerns, traveling to their states to show that not only did we believe in this intellectually, but we weren't afraid to go before their constituents and say, this is good. This is good for your state, and this is good for the country. So I spent a lot of time on the Capitol, on the Hill, talking with, I have great respect for Senator Collins, great respect for Senator Corker. I'm so glad that he came around and gave his vote. And he cited, actually, as part of his decision, not only that tax reform is critical and important to the country, but when coupled with deregulation,
Right.
that would create the type of growth that we need as a country, not to incur a larger deficit.
Well, that's what they all ran on, so it's good. They're going to get a chance to vote in a couple of days. It looks like it's going to pass. Ivanka?
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.